Hello, everyone, and welcome back to seeing the Cosmic Veil Show. And we're going to continue with part two of question and answers from myself. I got my partners here. They're going to do some more grilling and try to get me to confess to some information that maybe I might know and maybe I don't know. So I've got with me today, I've got Lee and Mick
Hi.
from Australia.
Hey,
And we've got a bunch of questions put together, a continuation from part one. And we'll see if they can get some answers out of me.
Well, I have to say, I really enjoyed the first show, and I hope that people tuning in actually enjoyed it too, because it's an opportunity for people to ask questions and we'll bring them forward on the show, and Joe can answer those questions. And the last episode, episode one, we left off with a question, and it was, are aliens demons? So we're going to start with this question, and Joe.
Okay, but before I start with that question, let me share a little good news we have to share. Prior to this show, we were able to announce that we were just able to get the version of the book, Piercing the Cosmic Veil, uploaded onto Kindle. So we now
Yes.
have it in digital format that you can purchase from Kindle, Amazon, to be able to view on your Kindle format or your iPad or your computer or whatever you're using for digital for reading. But it's there along with you. You can still purchase the the paperback version. But for those of you that prefer the digital, it's now available. And we thank you for supporting us. And any copy that's purchased, the money goes into helping support the ministry, so we can reach out and make other tools available to help reach these people that are involved in this type of delusion, deception, so that we can help bring them out of it.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
All right. Getting to the question.
Yes.
It's a good question, and I have to tell you, I have to answer it from two different perspectives, not just one. I have to take on two different hats here because actually, one, I have to come at this as a researcher, as a MUFON researcher. As a MUFON researcher, I can only lay out what I have found, lay out my findings, lay out the research that we've done for 25 years into this abduction phenomenon. And what it shows in the research is that we have found a format that has enabled people to be able to stop this experience. And it's through a religious authority, Jesus Christ. We have not found that any other religious personage works like this name, especially in long-term termination of the experience through a person's life. There has been record of use of other religious personages that have been able to stop it in certain instantaneous situations, but none for any long-lasting periods of time, like the name Jesus Christ. We also see that there is many, many, many messages, communications recorded from the experiencers themselves that are always an anti-Christ message, anti-God of the Bible, anti-Jesus Christ, anti-creation as in the Bible. They always come at saying that they are our creators. That kind of gives a red flag when you're looking at this from a research perspective, because you wonder why they only come after one religious belief system when there's so many different ones in this world. The way they appear, disappear, the paranormal aspects of the experience leads it to look like this is more of an interdimensional experience or interdimensional being more than an extraterrestrial biological entity. Even Jacques Vallée saw these similarities between myths and legends of old. He saw that there were problems trying to compare this to strictly being an extraterrestrial biological experience. We are seeing the same things with CE4's research. So from the strictly research side, that's what I can show you, and you can decide what you think it is from that perspective. But as a Christian, myself, Bible believing Christian that follows the teachings of Jesus Christ, we know there is a demonic side to reality through God's word. And everything that we're seeing here points to that being behind this experience. Would I say that this is demons perpetrating this experience? I don't know if that's the exact title I would give this behind it. I would say that this is a demonic spiritual experience. But an actual name for what we would give these beings, I don't know for sure what that is. There's a lot of different thought that's come into this. Some say it's fallen angels. At the best, for everybody to be in agreement would be to say that this is a demonic spiritual experience would be the safest thing to say. Everything points to that. The whole nature of this experience is pointing to that.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a really good explanation. Yeah. So I'm going to ask this question to you. What is the best way to help an experiencer? What are the key things to say and not to say to help guide them to the truth?
Well, when they come to you and they're telling you, I've had these memories, these dreams, and you say, yeah, tell me about them. And when I start telling you these crazy stories, please don't say, you're crazy. Don't do that. Give them an ear and listen to them. They're really looking for somebody that will just hear them out. They really don't know what they're dealing with. The only thing they've got to go by is what Hollywood is telling them and what a lot of so-called researchers in the UFO realm are telling them, which isn't the whole story. A lot of them have their own agendas for what they're perpetrating to be what they think is truth or what they want you to believe is truth. I'll tell you up front, I don't have an agenda in this at all except to tell you what I found. And if it helps you, so be it. If it doesn't, I tried. But over the years, it seems though it works for people that want help. And we got a lot of testimonial, evidence that shows that. When you're working with these people, do it in love. These people are hurting. They've had their lives turned upside down. They don't know where to go. Most of their family won't listen to them. Their co-workers won't listen to them. They've been made fun of, most of them. They've had something happen to them that's totally changed their worldview. And they don't know how to cope with that. It's a life-changing experience. It really is. And there are no answers for them out there for this. Sadly to say, except what we've come across. Um, if you don't have the answers for this yourself, take what we've put together over the years and use it. It's free for everybody out there to use. Our work is free. It's up there on the website. It's on our videos. It's on our YouTube channel, CE4 Research YouTube channel. Everything that I've ever put out there is on that YouTube channel. The talks I've done, the interviews I've done on podcasts and radio shows, you don't have to reinvent the wheel to help these people. It's all there. Shows like what we're doing right here. Take the information and share it with them. Show them the testimonies of people's lives changed through the name and authority of Jesus Christ. There's nothing more powerful than that. There's nothing else that works like that. There's nothing else that the rest of the UFO realm can show you that works like that.
Totally agree.
Yeah, yeah. I know with myself, after my experience, it's just unreal how much you want the truth. You don't want to be lied to. You know what's happened. Well, whether it's real or not, but I believe what happened to me was real. And it's just, you just need someone to talk to and to listen. And it's just, it's really, really comforting to know that there's people out there that will listen and give you the right advice in the end, you know. But it can be a very, very long journey, and, you know, you have massive mixed emotions. I know with myself, I went through fear, I went through anger, and probably the biggest, I think, that really got me, there was two, was fear, but mainly anger. I got really angry to think that I was lied to. You know, you go through your life thinking that, you know, that you're, you know, it's just football and beer and Skittles and, you know, and there's other things going on in this world.
I'm just laughing because when I first met Mick, he was very angry, and it was, what I was seeing was emotional pain because he didn't know who to talk to. He didn't know what was going on, and he didn't know how to stop it. But we know now.
Yeah. Well, I found out in that room in Canberra, as I said in my testimonial, you know, just amazing. You use the word Jesus Christ and boom, it stops instantly. Instantly. Most important.
That's why I'm so happy that, you know, we finally got a book out there that we can use as a tool that we can actually put in somebody's hand, you know, and I can't say this enough. For the price of taking your family to a horrible meal that's going to ruin their health at Burger King or McDonald's, you know, and I probably shouldn't be using those names. We'll get in trouble for that. But anyway, you could save somebody's life and their family and everybody else that's involved with this by the purchase of a book and share with them. You know, you could do wonders for that family by sharing a copy of the book. It's got all of this information we're sharing with you now. We give you this information for free, but we give you the tool to purchase and do the work yourself, to be able to take what we're giving you right now and put it in their hands for the cheap price of what it would take for a horrible meal, you know? And it's got 60 plus testimonies in there. How much more does it take to convince somebody that what we're telling you is absolutely real? 60 powerful testimonies of people's lives changed. People that were in the same situation as the person you're witnessing to or going to be witnessing to, that's looking for hope. And you can show them over 60 people right there in this book that have had their lives return back to a normalcy through the love and grace and hope of Jesus Christ. How much more powerful of a tool can you get in your hands than that?
That's right.
And if that isn't enough, there's plenty more on the videos on YouTube. There's plenty more on this channel that we're doing now. We're bringing them live, on a channel where you can see them face to face. The website, ce4research.com. There's over 100 testimonies there. If that isn't enough, they're still coming in by email. How much does it take to show you that this hope is real? So that's how we help people.
That's good. It's excellent. I've got a question here, Jove. The question is, and really you've probably already answered it, but I'll just read it out. It says, is the name of Jesus the only way to stop an alien abduction?
No. Uh-oh, caught you off guard, didn't I?
What's the other one?
No, the reason I say that is because we know it's not the only way. Because the late Ann Druffel wrote in her book back in 1990 something, early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere right in there, Stopping Alien Abduction. She listed all the different ways that people had reported stopping their abduction experiences. And one of the many ways was calling on a higher power, a religious personage. And there were many different religious personages that people had called on, and it worked for them. Well, at the time, we were new in putting these testimonies together with the name and authority of Jesus Christ, stopping these experiences. And one of my partners that we were working with, the late Dr. Chris Ward, working with Guy Malone and myself, where we were working together as alienresistance.org at the time, he pulled me aside and he saw that I was kind of troubled by, her coming out with this book. And he said, not to worry. He said, it's a matter of terminology and, we just got to get this right. And he explained it to me and he says, she is showing in her book that people have been able to stop an experience in all different ways, using garlic, leaving the fan on at night, TV on, tinfoil over their head, different personages of religious names, but that's just stopping an experience and whatever, for whatever reason, that's been able to happen. But he says what your evidence shows and your testimony show is what researchers explain as this experience being a life pattern for abduction experiencers. This name and authority of Jesus Christ terminates that as a life pattern. No other name does. That's the difference.
Yeah, I know it worked for me without a shadow of a doubt. And at the time, I was a non-believer. And then I'll put my hand up to that, and it just bang stopped. And I thought, ooh.
Now, why would another name work? Well, if we're dealing in a spiritual warfare, it's probably kind of easy to figure out. If you're involved in some other religious belief and the enemy's got you in a bondage of, deception and wants to keep you there, you'll be glad to let you think that whoever you're following works. To keep you there, keep you deceived.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
You'd be glad to let you think that tinfoil works wrapped around your skull while you go to bed.
I'm going to have to go and put it in the rubbish bin now.
Okay. What do you think we will be told about or during UFO disclosure, and how do you see disclosure happening?
Well, everybody is expecting disclosure to be about extraterrestrials from other worlds. But I have a feeling the reason it's being delayed so long is because it's not going to be about that. I really have seen a change over the years in the information release amongst the government, amongst the researchers themselves, to where this idea of an interdimensional being, an interdimensional entity, is surfacing more and more. And that goes against everything that they were expecting. And I have to look at this. This is just my opinion now. We're talking outside of what I have as findings. And I'll just give you, I don't do this much. Opinions are a dime a dozen. But let's just play. Okay? That's all this is. I can't give you any proof. But it's what I'm seeing. If I get it right, hey, this will be worth something someday. The Brookings report back in the 60s, as NASA was getting satellites out there in space and looking at going to the moon, they were considering their options of what would they do if they encounter something of an otherworldly presence or evidence of an otherworldly presence. How do you share that with the rest of humanity? And what do they think the effects on humanity would be? So they hired the Brookings Institute with their think tank to, throw this around and come up with some ideas on how do you think this would play out. And the way people interpreted this was they thought that it would have a more traumatic impact on certain areas of humanity than others. And if we came across an extraterrestrial presence in the universe, in other words, we were not alone. And that would be more on areas of religion. It would go against the religious thinking of the world. And as I see this playing out now, I think it's, like I said, my opinion, I think it's going to become the opposite. I think what's going to happen is we're going to find out this is going to be an extraterrestrial or interdimensional presence, not extraterrestrial. And they're not going to have any control of it. They're not going to have any understanding of how to deal with it. And it's going to mirror everything that Jack Vallée and J. Allen Hynek were seeing, everything that I've been telling you, and other researchers in the same realm of the work that I'm doing, Gary Bates. And if this is what we are seeing it is and believing it is, then you're going to have one shocked secular half of this planet. Because all of a sudden they're going to realize that this God they made fun of is real. This Jesus Christ is real. And this devil that they talk about is real. And that's going to cause a major change.
Thank you.
So, with the major changes, Joe, if you got any idea on what that might be, like.
I don't, and I think that's why this disclosure is being slowly done. I think the work that you're seeing the government releasing, showing you that this stuff, these reports they're getting of, you know, the Tic Tac video showing that it defies physics, giving us more an understanding that this points to an interdimensional source. I think the whole concept that Tom DeLonge is playing with here is pushing that focus. And I think the more that we can focus on that area or get people to understand and be acceptable of that, it'll make that change a lot less radical. But at the same time, I think this is the greatest opportunity in humanity for the church to be able to witness to the secular realm. Because we are only one vocabulary word away from them understanding. What they call interdimensional being, we call a spiritual entity. And we can take what they're already seeing and show them it's exactly what we have in our Bible. And we can take this as a tool to show them that we already believe what you're just now seeing.
Mm.
And it's just a matter of understanding we're both looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think this is the greatest opportunity Christians have had to be able to finally share the gospel with a hurting world. Because if we can get them to understand that these beings that are doing and showing themselves are exactly what Scripture's been telling us about, I think we can get them an ear to listen. I think we can get them to understand that they're not coming with a good message. They're not coming with good intentions. And at the same time, there is a hope that we can deal with these beings. There's you know, humanity is going to be in fear of it because they don't think there's going to be a way to deal with them if they think it's high superiority of technology. It's not technology, it's their natural ability that we're seeing to defy these physics. It's not a technology that they have at all. It's just their natural ability as these spiritual beings.
Supernatural.
It's what they are. But the secular realm doesn't understand supernatural, so they think it must be some kind of great high-tech, you know, technology. But we know that it's not. We know that it's just an ability. But we also know that whatever you want to call it, ability or technology, that there is a name, there's an authority in a name that is above it.
Yeah.
That same name that stops these experiences from happening over and over in these people's lives.
Yep.
And
yeah,
that's the only thing that's going to stop this.
That's exactly right. I read somewhere it was forbidden technology that was brought here to Earth. You know, I don't know whether, you know, that's the path we're talking at the moment or not, but they, them, whatever it is, the spiritual realm, you know, quite obviously can do stuff that.
Yeah, the fallen angels in the Book of Enoch, you know, does mention, you know, that they brought technologies and mirrors and made, you know.
But even that wasn't high technology. They just brought things that
yeah,
they just brought
yeah.
things that we hadn't humanity hadn't dealt with yet. You know,
That's right.
pharmakia, you know,
Tools and
Astronomy,
yeah,
weapons, and
yeah, that's
fire,
right. Yeah.
navigation. All righty. So I've got the next question. Are you supported in your research findings by MUFON?
No. But that's
Thank you for
but
being
that's
honest.
okay. But that's okay. I support them every chance I get.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'll take that moment to do that right now. If anybody's out there that's, you know, really looking to get deep into the research into this phenomenon, I would say start with MUFON. MUFON gives you a great foundation on how to be a real investigator and how to do good, honest research. That's why I've stayed with them for so long, because I want my peers to understand that I've done this work the right way. I stay with MUFON. I encourage people to do the work the right way. And, you know, that right now they're one of the biggest and oldest organization that's still around in this field, doing the work. You know, they're a scientifically based organization. They basically looking at the hard concept of this, the nuts and bolts aspect, the scientific aspect of this. They really can't look at, you know, the paranormal aspect or the spiritual aspect of this phenomenon. I don't expect them to, you know, and I don't expect them to support my aspect of the research either, because that's not what they do. You know, I've known that from the start. That's why in the beginning, when we started seeing, you know, that this, we started focusing more on the abduction experience, we decided to separate ourselves from MUFON, but stay MUFON members, because we wanted to keep our respectability in the field by staying MUFON members. But we separated ourselves in the research because they had no foundation for doing abduction research at the time. So we started CE4 Research Group and moved the focus in the abduction research over to CE4 Research Group. But we committed to making the information available for everyone to see all the time. And they've always had every opportunity to look at what we're doing. I've shared the work with 5 different international directors over the years. I've had an opportunity to talk with them and share with them what I do. They know what I do. Haven't had any flack from any of them. It's usually the lower people in the organization that have their own agendas, but use MUFON for whatever reason they're in MUFON to promote their own agendas. When I work with MUFON, I work with MUFON. When I work with CE4, I work with CE4. But even though I'm with CE4 and I'm talking in CE4 right now, I'll promote MUFON any chance I get. Even when I set up at conferences and I speak at conferences and I set up my vendor tables at conferences at CE4, I'll still have a section on my table that is all MUFON. I set up applications, I set up information. You know, I'll have MUFON journals available for people to see them, because I encourage people to be involved. You know, they do good work. They're trying to do good work. They're a nonprofit organization, and the membership pays for a lot of that support, you know, to be able to get some work done. So I got no problem. It doesn't bother me that they don't support me. My support comes from, you know, up there.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's good that you are still, you know, involved with MUFON. I think it's very important because you can still share information.
I think it's nice that you support them. I think it's good. It's, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The next question from a person in the US, he's asking, he hopes that you will visit the US again and do a talk. Do you see that happening in the future?
I hope so.
Yeah.
The plan is right now, if it holds up, I was hoping to come this year, but COVID put a wrench into everything for that.
Yes.
But we've put the focus out for next year. This year, 2020, the plan was to get the book in print, and which it was in time. And I was hoping to make it to the MUFON Symposium, which was supposed to be held in Las Vegas in July. They didn't. They didn't have it, so they've postponed it till 2021. So nice. I can still go to Las Vegas for the MUFON Symposium. That's my plan.
Yeah.
I still want to make the book available out there. Will I get a chance to talk at the symposium? I doubt it. I don't expect to. But I'd like to make the book available at a MUFON Symposium. And hopefully I'll have a second, maybe even third available. Hopefully by that time. We'll see.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to get my partners out there. You two guys are welcome to join me in Las
Oh,
Vegas.
we'd love to come.
And Jason from California, I hope he'll
That'd
come
be
up,
great. Yep.
Yeah.
you know. But what I'd like to do on that trip is I'd like to do some talks. I'd like to take some vacation, maybe 3 weeks vacation, take my wife who's never been to the U.S. and get her on that trip, maybe meet Jason in California and get a rental car and plan this all ahead if we can make the trip there without dealing with all these lockdowns and
Yeah.
quarantines and everything, because that takes away from my vacation time. And if it all works out, you know, if the Lord's in charge and can make it happen, I'd like to make a trip across America by car and or SUV or van or whatever with my wife so she can see America. And we'll just pack up with a load of books. And I've got people I know all the way across country, and I'll plan it ahead of time. And I'll say, I'm going to be in your place on this date, put together a talk. And then I'll be on your place, you know, next on this date, put together a talk. And just stay with people and do a talk, sell some books, move on to the next place, you know, and kind of do a traveling show all the way across till I get to Florida and I see family and fly back home when we're done.
Sounds fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've done, what have we done? We did 6,000 miles. We went
Yeah,
from
we did.
Vancouver all the way down to, where did we go to? San Francisco.
Yeah.
Through
And-
Oregon and California. It was just amazing, like driving in a rental car and just the people we met. And the countryside was just beautiful. Although Oregon we didn't
Right.
see much of because it was fires at the time.
Yes.
But it's a beautiful country, what we've seen, you know, especially Washington State, just phenomenal.
Now, the best part about this is now that we got this show put together, I'll take this show on the road with us. And
Oh,
every
yeah.
time we stop,
Yes.
we just hook up and we start recording, and we'll have
Mhm.
show after show after show after show, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
That would
Yeah,
be
that'd
good.
be good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's see the questions. Someone's asking about more books. Do you have more books on the way, Joe? I think you mentioned that.
I did.
Yeah.
The second book, I've got a title for it, and it's going to be focused on more on some testimonies. The first book, originally the intent was I was looking at putting over 100 new testimonies in the first book. But as I started putting it together, it was way too big. And we still ended up with 412 pages in the first book. So I pulled out a bunch of testimonies. These are never before seen testimonies. So I'm still sitting on, I don't know, 50, 60 plus testimonies that I've never before seen. So I'm going to put some in the second book, along with, I hope to put you guys in the second book. And then I want to get you and Jason and Mick and Lee and all of you guys in the second book, and along with some of the new ones that I haven't shared. And I want to really focus on the testimonials itself, not the research, but the actual testimonials. And then the third book, I really want to get into disclosure. And what I see is what disclosure is actually going to be about. And that's what I'm seeing coming ahead. And I'd like to be able to try and knock those out before the MUFON Symposium.
Sounds good.
Yes,
Fantastic.
and I'm working on a chapter for that book now. So
Okay.
yeah. I have another question. Are we alone in the universe?
That's a good one. Do I have any evidence that we're alone in the universe? Well, let me throw that back at you, whoever's asking. Do we have any evidence that we are not alone in the universe? I know the answer to that one. The answer is no. We don't have any evidence at all. Zip, nada, zero, that there's anything else out there. Nothing. Everything is speculation. Everything. And you hear all sorts of reasoning. Reasoning like, well, the universe is so big, there's got to be something else out there. How could it be so big and not be? Well, most of that comes from evolutionary thinking, which I used to believe in the evolutionary thinking. Remember, the evolutionary theory, the theory of evolution. Evolution's never been proved. Actually, when you actually look at both sides of the coin, which I think we talked about that. Did we ever talk about both sides of the coin? Maybe I did that on somebody else's show. Both sides of the coin, that's a very important thing. Most people never look at both sides of the coin. They get bombarded with one side and they get so sucked into that one side, they never look at the other side. Well, most of you watching this show and maybe the first show are starting to see there's a second side to this UFO coin. And you probably never looked at this second side before. Well, now that you have, you're now one of the few that are able to say, can honestly say, I've made an honest opinion on what this is about. Because if you haven't looked at both sides of something, you cannot make an honest opinion on what you've looked at. Okay? You can't teach a kid right from wrong if you're not showing him right and wrong. He has no understanding. You can teach a kid only wrong, and he'll forever think that's right. We know that. There are people brought up in societies that believe things that we know are wrong. But they don't know it's wrong because that's all they know. So you have to be able to be shown both sides. And you have to be able to show them to the full extent that you can make an honest decision based on everything you've been shown. And we have no evidence for anything out there. And you cannot assume there must be just because it's big. Okay? Let me tell you a little story. I was working at the Kennedy Space Center before I came over here to South Korea. I was a safety specialist there at the Kennedy Space Center. And NASA had done a film project some years before and had finally got it completed, and they wanted to share it with everybody. And it was filmed, the filming was done during the missions with the shuttle, where they went up and fixed the lenses on the Hubble telescope, because they realized when they launched Hubble that after they got it up there and they started viewing through the Hubble telescope, that it wasn't quite perfect. And the more they looked at it, they said, Hubble needs corrective lenses. Kind of like me and you, huh, Mick?
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. So they did the research and they did the research and they did the research and they come up with a fix for Hubble. and they set aside space shuttle mission to go up and do the corrective lenses on the Hubble telescope. Well, they decided to film this whole mission in IMAX 3D, which is, if you've ever seen an IMAX movie in 3D, it is just mind-blowing. I mean, the screen is 3 or 4 stories tall, you know, and then to go in 3D on top of that is just awesome. So they filmed this mission where they had the shuttle meet up with the Hubble telescope in orbit, and these astronauts went out on the arm that works out of the bay of the shuttle, and all of these guys are out there working in space outside the shuttle on the Hubble, and it's all in 3D. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful filming, in full IMAX, all its glory. Well, they put this movie together and they finally finished it and they released it. Well, before they released it to the public, they wanted to show their work and be proud of it. And they wanted NASA employees to be proud of it and all of the workers supporting NASA to be proud of it. So they shared it at the Kennedy Space Center with the 15,000 workers there for free on the clock at the visitor center right outside the Kennedy Space Center, at the IMAX theater at the visitor center. All we had to do was schedule our time to go there so that, we could get scheduled to go. So in essence, they paid us to go see this movie. Well, I thought, okay, that's cool. I'd been to the IMAX theater at the visitor center before, not during work hours, but I'd been there before. Saw this thing about the moon that they have, for tourism. And it was great. So I was looking forward to seeing this. And I went there, and there were 5 of us that worked as safety specialists in my department. So we had to split up and go at different times. So we'd have somebody working, not everybody going to see a movie. So when I went, I'm by myself, and I went and got me a seat up where I could get a good view. And I'm sitting there, and this thing comes on, and I'm going, wow, this is awesome. Well, I watched the whole thing progress, and I got the shuttle fixed. And at the end of the movie, they take you on a journey through the eyes of Hubble out into space with its new eyes as far as it can see. And it is absolutely mind-blowing. And I sat there and watched that. And I actually just started bawling because God showed me in that moment, in the middle of a theater with all these other people from NASA, he brings me to tears, or I can't even get up and leave when the lights come on, and showed me why the universe is so big. And it was to show his glory. It was what my friend Gary Bates refers to as the awe factor. So that we would be in such awe of him. Remember that Scripture tells us the heavens declare the glory of God. There doesn't need to be anything out there. All of that he made for us to show us how much he has love for us. Let me give you a perspective of what God's view of us compared to the UFO phenomenon's view of us. If you believe in this UFO phenomenon, if you believe in aliens, and you believe this evolutionary lie that there's millions upon millions upon millions of other worlds out there inhabited with life. Let me show you where you stand. This is the viewpoint from ufology. You're a carbon-based unit on a rock in a solar system of other rocks, circling a star in a galaxy of other solar systems, circling a star in a universe full of a gazillion other galaxies with stars and solar systems and rocks and who knows how many other carbon-based units. Makes you feel about that big, don't it?
Mm-hmm.
But if you believe what God says, he says you're the center. You right there, you are the center of his universe. And he made all of that for you. Make you feel better?
Absolutely. It's very interesting. Like they talk about evolution, and there's a big question, what come first, the blood or the heart, or the veins to carry? Like, how's it all, and it just, no, if we had to be created on by a creator.
Yep.
Like, you look at the complexity of an eye, it's just phenomenal what, how you can see things in different shades and colors and tones, and how it can focus. And
it's funny, Joe, that you had that sort of epiphany then, in that IMAX theatre, and I'm sure you've had that before that as well. But I think everyone has some kind of an epiphany about, God. Even those that don't believe, they have something, and Mick's had it, and I had it when I was doing a diploma of health science, and I'm in biology, and we're talking about macrophages and different cells, and inside a cell, if you slice it in half, it's like a little factory of operating organisms within. And it just blew my mind. I thought, someone has created this. This is not a random thing, based on a Big Bang theory or something like that. And the human body is so complex in its design that it's you can't even replicate that. It's God. I mean, yeah. But your description was very poetic, I must say. I loved it. Thank you.
yeah, you look at the Big Bang theory, and to make an explosion, you need something initially, but you need something to detonate
Well,
to make an explosion. And so who made
you can't
you can't create everything out of nothing,
you
or
can't
something
create,
out of nothing.
That's it.
It's ridiculous. It's just so stupid. And
it only pushes it back one step farther where they can hold you off from answering it. They don't. No. The whole thing comes down to, and we know this because we've all dealt with the New Age, it's a matter of, are you going to obey God, or are you going to listen to the devil and say, you can do what you want?
I go with God. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. he's the man.
You know, because when it comes down to it, they always, it's so funny when you look back on it, is everyone has their stopping point, their, what do you call it, their the point where they won't, you know, if you can do anything you want, if there's no God, if there's no rules, you know, um, yet they all got their point where they won't go past, you know. Well, why? What makes you have that point? Well, you know, that's what do they call that?
Cognitive dissonance.
No, this, you know, they say, well, you know, well, we can't do that, you know. Well, everything that, whenever they say that, what do they base that on? They base that on something that's coming from the Bible, you know. Why don't you just go out and kill people? You know, what's stopping you from doing that? If we're just animals, if we're just evolved animals, you know.
It's like everyone has an internal moral compass.
That's what I'm looking for, you
Yeah.
know. That's not, why do we have it and animals don't, you know? If
Yeah.
we're just in a higher evolved animal, you know, that moral compass comes from God. That comes,
Yeah, it does.
you know.
Yeah, and you know, it's in everybody. Even as a child, we have that innate ability to just know that we shouldn't do that, or, you know, unless you're a sociopath where you may not have that. But generally speaking, nearly everyone has that ability. Even as a child, you just know innately that that's right and that's wrong.
Yeah.
You know. And I do believe Mick and I had this discussion a couple of weeks ago. I think it's God within you. You know, he's always there waiting for us to recognize him, to come to him, but he's always there with us.
That's that age of accountability, the point of accountability.
Yeah. And what is that age? It's like, that was another discussion we had. What is that age? And I think it's around about 12 or 13 where you actually start to understand accountability.
Maybe. Me, it was
It just depends.
42.
I was going to say that, but no.
At least you're honest.
Well, that's what I say in my talks, you know, is the difference between Christianity and the other beliefs in New Age teachings is, you know, they want their spirituality without accountability. You know, they want you to believe that everything is for life's experience. You know, the more experiences you have, you know, the closer to enlightenment you become.
I think we are just about done. We've had a few questions coming in. Well, is there anything you would like to discuss?
No, I think I'm good for now.
Yeah.
Just a reminder about the books, or the book, Piercing the Cosmic Veil, available on Amazon. Yep. Paperback available on Amazon, and now available in Kindle for those who prefer digital. And I'm contemplating doing a audio version. We'll see. I'm contemplating.
Working on it.
You know, I'm contemplating. That's a
And
lot of talking.
yeah, it is. And don't forget, viewers, if you have a question, you can either email Joe, which is ce4president at yahoo.com, or you can even write a question in the message comment section under the YouTube clip, and we can answer it there for you. So we'll look forward to the next show. Thanks, Mick, for joining us. And thanks, Joe.
Thank you,
well
guys.
Done.
Yeah,
thank you. And we'll see you all on the next show, the Piercing the Cosmic Veil show, question and answers. Thank you.
Okay.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.